Alright, Oulton Park International with no chicanes. This rolls right off the tongue. If you're new to Oulton Park, it's a fun track. I think this is my favorite configuration. Track's 21 degrees, so it's definitely on the cool side. So keep that in mind. If the track temp's up there, it's going to be a little slicker. This is low fuel, hot tires, so we'll cover a couple of the things when it's cold tires. Setups in the description below. This track looks pretty harmless, but it's actually pretty difficult to drive this track fast. You touch the grass a lot of places here, and your race is over. And your safety rating is probably going to take a big kick to the groin on this track. There are so many places to get 1X's here. It is crazy, so watch out for that. So we'll go through the lap in slow-mo as usual, and then run it out at full speed. So here we go. So coming into turn one, looking for this black advertisement. Gonna brake at the black advertisement from fourth gear, or actually in fourth gear, staying in fourth gear. If it's cold tires, first lap or 2 or 3, you probably want to shift down into third gear. Even when the tires are hot, you may be more comfortable shifting down into third gear. It's kind of just depends on your driving style. I prefer to keep it in fourth. So yeah, so braking at this marker, and the thing is you don't really want to turn in too early here. If you turn in too early, you're really gonna run wide. So braking at the start of the black advertisements, and then really doing the turn in at the end of the black advertisements. Pretty good on the brakes, especially on the cold tires, early laps. You definitely want to give this, pretty good brakes. And again, maybe third gear is the safer bet. And then turning in, and what you're sighting for is the curbs here. It opens up to a little bit of a wider grassy section, so you can see right here there's a little bit of flat grass here before it angles up on the hill, and you really want to get your tire into that. Again, if there's a car right in front of you, this is very difficult to navigate quickly, so be careful with that. So you want to get onto that grass, not way up over here. I think you'll get an X if you do that, so one of the many X's. So in fourth gear, still holding it, just getting on the power, hitting that apex, getting on the power as early as possible, running it out to the curb here. You can, I believe, there's no written rules on this, it's an older track. I believe the rule is if your right-hand tire crosses over the white line, that is the X, and believe me, it's very easy to do, so be careful there. And then the other thing you have to watch out for is just the end of the curb here. If you get tire into the dirt, there's an X there as well. So keep it in fourth gear. And then just getting over to the right hand side and looking for this dip in the track. In real time, it kind of looks like I'm braking at the dip. I think in slow-mo I'm braking just before the dip here. So in fourth gear, again, on cold tires, you definitely would want to do this in third gear, braking up here in third gear. Once the tires are warm, you can actually hold this corner in fourth gear. Again, it depends on your driving style and your car setup, I guess. I like to brake here in fourth. You give it a bit of brakes just to get the car turned in, and then at the end of this black advertisement here, shifting down into third just to tighten the car up. Again, you don't want to run wide here. There's lots of X's and lots of crashing to be done. So third gear, picking up the power early as you can, and then shifting back up into fourth. Actually, I'm probably already in fourth. You'll see it at full speed. And then coming out here. Now, this is another tricky spot, so if you run out across the white line here with your right hand tire, you will get an X if you do it before the curb. If you cross the white line after or onto the curb, you don't get an X. So kind of some quirky rules here. And again, if you're over the white line onto this grasscrete, then there's no X. So, and then you can get onto this concrete here. And again, just make sure you're back on track before the end of the concrete, otherwise it is an X. So holding it in fourth gear, if you're drafting on someone, you may want to shift up into fifth, but I do like to keep this in fourth gear for this section, everything being equal. And then basically just a tiny lift as the car turns in, and you're aiming for getting your left tire on these curbs and picking up the throttle as early as possible. When the tires are really warm, you can actually hold this in fifth gear, but again, I'm just more comfortable in fourth. And you actually have to watch for the end of the curb here. I luckily did not get an X, but I was sure flirting with one. You got to get back on that pavement, otherwise you do get the X. What you have to watch out for in this section is getting your car a little sideways. If your tires are really squealing through this section, you're going to actually lose time. So you have to make sure you're not squealing the tires too much, getting the car too much sideways, otherwise you do actually lose a bit of time in this section. So keep the tires quiet. And you'll see your delta actually goes down here, especially the closer you get to the next corner. So the next corner, looking for the end of the tires and this weird little fence bit up here. In real time, it looks like I'm braking sort of in the middle, in between them. In slow-mo here, I think I'm braking a little earlier than that. From fourth gear down into second, getting on the brakes pretty hard. And cold tires, yeah, you really do want to brake in a straight line and get the car slowed, because it's really easy to lose your back end through this section. So keeping a little bit of brake on just to keep that back end steady, and a little bit of throttle, just keeping it steady, trail braking here, and then just slowly releasing the brakes. Again, through this section you don't want to release the brakes really rapidly. That will snap out your back end here. So ease off the brakes, ease on the throttle at the same time. Second gear, and as early as possible, again, because this is a bit of a full throttle section, actually a long full throttle section. So getting on the throttle as early as possible, because you're going to be full out here for a bit of time. So just working up from second gear into third, into fourth, running the car out wide to the curbs here. Again, don't go over the curbs, you get that X, and make sure you're back on track by the end of the curbs, otherwise you get that X, and they can add up pretty fast on this track. Just taking the shortest line, and you want to shift up into fifth once you get pretty much to the top of this hill. You don't want to shift at the bottom of the hill into fifth gear. Otherwise, you do lose a little bit of speed and time. Nothing major, but a little bit. Now, looking for the 100 boards. This section, again, if you were drafting, you may be up into fifth. Or actually, I am into fifth. So, yeah, disregard that. You're in fifth gear. And then braking just past, in real time it looks like just past the 100 board, just in front of the curb here. Obviously in slow-mo it's a little bit before. Shifting down into fourth gear, and again you don't want to turn in too early here. And what you're kind of sighting for is the edge of the white line, and then you really want to line the car up with this sort of triangle bit of the white lines converging there. Get onto this pavement. You don't want to get onto this grass, that is an X, but you want to get onto this pavement. Just get the wheel straight and onto full power as quick as possible. You know, you can even get the edge of that curb as well. That's alright. But yeah, full power, wheel straight, quick as you can, in fourth gear still. And then again, you don't want to get your wheel over the curb here. That's an X. And make sure you're not in the dirt past the curb. So holding it in fourth, again, if you're drafting, you may want to be up into fifth. But actually I find if I am in fifth, the sector changes right around here, and if I'm in fifth, I actually start losing time than if I kept it in fourth. And what you're looking for is this green marker. So in fourth gear, that green marker, again in real time it looks like I'm kind of at the green marker, but in slow-mo it's a little bit before. Pretty good blast of brakes in fourth gear. On cold tires, you pretty much would probably want to do this in third gear, entry into this, for the first couple of laps, just because again, this is a section that you can really lose the back end on easy, and if you run it wide, even if you keep the car under control, if you run it wide, it's big trouble. So fourth gear, wanting to get up against this edge of this curb, maybe took a little bit much there, and then getting on the power. So the important part is, because this is another big straight coming on, is you want to brake, you know, a good amount before the apex, and then just getting on the power, building it up. You don't want to goose it and lose the back end or run wide, but building up the power way before the apex. It's double apex here. And that way, because this is another long straight section. Here I get over top of the curb, not a good idea. However, that being said, this doesn't hurt you too bad. It's better to get up on top of this curb. If you go way over, you're going to get an X and probably lose control. But if you're right just up on top of it, it's not too punishing, and it is better than running wide, because you get into that grass, you might crash. At the worst and at the least, you're going to lose a tremendous amount of time. I lose just a little bit of time on that curb, but the grass really penalizes you, and that's if you can keep your car straight. And then getting onto this curb, again, over the curb, it's an X, so don't do that. So in fourth gear again, fifth gear, you may be in fifth gear if you're drafting, is sighting this turn marker, and there's a marshal box up here, and again trying to brake in the middle of them. In real time it feels like I'm braking in the middle, maybe not quite in the middle in slow-mo. Down into second gear, pretty hard on the brakes. This is tighter than it looks. Again, it's easy to run really wide here, and you want to get onto this curb, and this time you can even brush a little bit of the grass here as well. You won't get an X, but you don't really want to get too much of that grass. And then the other thing you just have to watch out for is the end of the curb there. You will get an X. So second gear, getting on the power as early as possible, unwind the wheel, and using all the curb on the left here. Same thing, over the curb, it's an X. And just keeping a tight line, the shortest line to the start finish line here, and so that's a 141.4. I've definitely left a little time on the table for myself, but pretty decent lap. So if you're in the 143s, 142s, hopefully this will help you out. We will see you next time. Hit that like and subscribe, and we'll run it out at full speed. Good luck out there.